everybody, welcome back to my channel. It has been a few months since I last posted. We celebrated the holidays, we celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary in January, and here we are at the end of February already. I think the last video I posted was one of my breads that I was making, and since that time I have just been making bread like weekly. I don't even buy bread anymore. I enjoy making it, and I've always been intimidated to make bread, always, my whole life. And it's so funny how since May of 2024 I have just fallen in love with making sourdough. So I told my husband towards the end of last year that I think I want to start milling my own flour, because I had joined some sourdough Facebook groups and some people were saying that they're starting to mill their own flour, and I was like, wait, what I can do that? I didn't really realize that I could do that. And so I told him about it, and for Christmas he got me an attachment for my KitchenAid to start milling my own flour, just to see if it's something that I really want to do. Well, I've been so scared to even try it. So I think just this past week, we pulled out the attachment and put on our big girl pants and started milling our own flour for a loaf of bread. And it was tricky to make the flour, or to make the bread. It seemed to soak up the water a lot more, that I felt like I needed to add more water. So I added 50 grams more water, and it seemed to do well. I do think that the bread turned out a little more flat than I would like and that I'm used to, but it still was fully cooked in the middle and it tasted delicious. And this is what we have left over of that bread. Not much left. We have been enjoying eating it. And I'll show some photos of what it looked like when we pulled it out of the oven. But I think that this is my new thing. I joined another Facebook group that is for milling your own flour, so I'm trying to learn there. I have been following a YouTube channel called Rose Homestead, and she's got some step-by-step tutorials, which I'm going to do in this video right now. I'm gonna just follow her steps and you can come along with me. And I would love your insights. If you've milled flour and made sourdough, I would love for you to help me and give me all the information that you can give me. And then recently, I don't even know how I found it. Maybe it was in one of these Facebook groups, but I found this podcast called Sue's Healthy Minutes with Sue Becker, and she has a company called The Bread Beckers. And I started listening to her podcast just a couple weeks ago while I was painting my girl's room, and I ended up listening to like 6 of her episodes. I just loved it, and I was just soaking in all this information, and I just really felt inspired by what she had to share, by the guests that she had on her show, and the things that they have seen change in their health due to eating freshly milled flour goodies, mainly bread. And like I said, I just felt really inspired, and this is kind of what I feel like I am being called to do for myself and for my family at this time. So this is my new adventure. Like I said, I've always been intimidated by bread, but I have loved making sourdough for the last, I don't know, it's almost been like probably 9-10 months. And like now I'm just feeling like we need to move on to freshly milled flour. And this is scary. It's so different than who I am. But I'm feeling just called to do this for my family. And I am a housewife, I am a house mom, I feel like I'm a homemaker. And this is just kind of scary, but also exciting. And I feel like I am following what God has for me right now. So I'd love for you to come join me. All right, so I fed my starter last night before going to bed. It's probably been about 11 hours ago now. It is more than doubled in size. It is active and ready to go. I've measured out 350 grams of water and I'm just warming it up slightly. 500 grams of white wheat and hard white wheat, and I have my attachment on my KitchenAid, and we're gonna go ahead and mill this flour and then mix my dough. On the finest setting. So I just ground up the flour and measured it out again because I wanted to make sure, and it came up 495 grams, but I do still have a few things of grain down there in the mill. It's kind of hard to see them. But I think I'm just gonna leave it right here at 495 because she did say that this is a lower hydration recipe, so I'm just gonna go right here. But here's the flour, and it smells like, I didn't know what it smelled like at first, the first time we made it, but we were like, we smell something, like it has a scent, and my husband's like, it smells like berries, and I was like, oh yeah. Okay, so I measured out 350 grams of water and 100 grams of active sourdough starter. In fact, it came out to 103, but it's fine, I promise. And then 495 grams of our freshly milled hard white wheat flour. And now we're just gonna mix this up. My first mistake is I didn't mix my water and sourdough starter first. I should have done that. We'll get it all mixed up. Okay. Do this. And then I'm just going to go in with my hands and kind of get it all together. Not really kneading it, just pulling everything off of the edges, getting it together. I can tell though that that's already a better hydration than what I tried the other day. The other day it was so dry, I was like, oh no, it's not gonna turn out. Okay, so now I'm gonna take one of these bowl covers and cover it up, and I'm gonna let it sit for 30 minutes to an hour. I forgot to add the salt. Luckily I caught it very, very fast. gonna get it in there. It will all get mixed in when we do our stretch and folds, so I'm not too worried. And it's not the first time I've done this. I always forget the salt. Luckily, I have not baked bread and forgotten the salt. So, okay. All right, she'll be fine. Okay, so it has been about 40 minutes, which means this has started to already do its bulk fermentation, and it's been doing it for about 40 minutes. Now, what I like to do is have a little bowl of water here, and I wet my hands as I do the stretch and folds. Now, this Rose Homestead page that I'm following, she says to do your stretch and folds a little differently than I normally do. I usually do 4 sides, stretching and folding, and then I put my cover on. We're gonna do it a little bit differently. I also usually do 4 sets, and we're gonna do about 5 to 6. So here's what it's looking like. Okay, it's not sticky. So I wet my hands. I'm gonna pull up like this and fold it over. And then I'm gonna take that corner, I don't know if you can see that, and do the same thing. And just kind of stretch it up and then over itself. And I just wet my hands as I need. So there, I had a little bit of a tear, and that's normal for this stage. Take this corner. As we continue with the stretch and folds, it will get stronger. And I'll do one more. Okay. So she's just folded over herself like that. So again, we're 40 minutes into the bulk fermentation. This is the hardest part for me because it's hard for me to tell when it's at a normal bulk fermentation. Never had it under fermented, but I think I have overproofed it before. So we're gonna leave this on here for another 15 to 30 minutes and then do it again. Okay, it's been 20 minutes and we're gonna do our second set of stretching. This is the final stretch and fold, and it's got some good stretch. It's a lot softer. So at this point, it has been bulk fermenting since we mixed the dough for exactly 3 hours. And it is currently 73 degrees inside of our house. So when it's in a warmer place, it will go through this process quicker. So this is where I always get messed up. I never really know how long to do this. So I'm just gonna try to keep an eye on it, but we're gonna keep the little plastic wrap on it for a few hours and just let it hang out. I'm gonna flip this. You can see right here how it's looking. It's not sticky at all. It looks really good, actually. It smells divine. Okay, so we're gonna put this on and just let it hang out. I'm gonna do my chores and go pick up my son in a couple hours from school, and then we'll check in on it. All right, it has been exactly 6 hours since I started mixing my dough, and it's been proofing here for a little while. It's expanded. I'm gonna go ahead and shape it and put it into the bowl. I am using this oval shape banneton and some rice flour to coat it, because I don't want it to stick. I'm making sure I get the sides and the bottom. Pour this out. All right. And I'm putting it into like a rectangle shape. All right, and then I'm gonna flip this upside down and put it into my banneton as gently as I can. Okay. And then I'm just gonna pinch all of this. Okay, I think that's going to be it for now. I'm going to put this on there and put it directly in the fridge, and it's going to stay there for the remainder of the day and night, and then I am going to bake it in the morning. Good morning. It is 7 a.m. the next morning, and I'm about to take my proofed bread and put it into my preheated roaster. I use a roaster instead of a Dutch oven because it's lighter and I have a history of back problems, so this just works for me. I also do not have a sling. I use these parchment papers, and I got a pack of 100 of these for $1, so, and they're reusable. So this is what I'm using for right now. I just took this out of the fridge. It rose a little bit, and so we're gonna put it onto my parchment paper and score it, and then put it into my preheated roaster and then put it in the oven. All right, so here is the finished loaf, and I guess my question is, does that look like it rose enough? I feel like my sourdoughs with King Arthur bread flour rose higher. Is this normal for freshly milled flour, or do I need to do something different? I will say this, I have not switched my sourdough starter to using freshly milled flour yet. I plan to do it, I just haven't done it yet, so maybe that's the difference. Let me know if you have experience with freshly milled flour and making sourdough loaves. I would love your tips, love your ideas. And I'm just gonna let this cool for a couple hours and then we'll cut into it. Thanks so much for being here.